Discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a registered broker-dealer. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and Private Financial Design LLC are not affiliated.
Bread and butter.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Your Bread and Butter podcast. I'm Andrew Beaudry.
And I'm Ryan Cummings.
And today we're going to talk about summer fun.
Sun's out, fun's out. Try to keep your summer finances from frying.
It's a great topic.
It is. And I think the concept behind and the inspiration behind today's episode was that, I think when people think of the maybe most expensive time of year, it's the holidays.
Yeah.
But maybe the second most can be the summer months. And how do you not fall behind, as we kind of eventually do lead into that holiday season in a, 6 months or so from now.
And everybody wants to have fun. And I know we're going to talk a lot about this, but in the last several weeks, being at different events and different places, I've heard people talk stuff about I was listening to a child talking to his dad the other day at this concert, and he was like, "Dad, so can we go camping this year?" And his dad is like, "Yeah, but we don't have a tent. We don't have sleeping bags. I don't know how we're going to do that." So we're going to talk a little bit about that. The idea here is to make sure you have a good budget, a good plan, some things that you can do to make sure that summer's still fun, but also at the same time not fall behind on your summer finances, So.
Exactly. So it may not be anything earth-shattering today, but just maybe some tips and tricks, little things you can do. And I always like to stress that with anyone's financial plan, little things add up. If you save, a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there, but you do that over and over again a few dozen times, well, the savings can be substantial.
It can kill you too. It can kill you. So on that note, as we're getting into this broadcast, I think it's important to know how different people vacation, even different mammals or fish. I mean, where sharks like to go on vacation?
I do not.
They go to Finland, of course.
Oh, yes, that makes sense. Yeah.
Right. So we're going to talk about that, not Finland, but we're going to talk about where we just began, family-friendly budgeting tips. So planning for summer activities like day trips, camps, dining out, there's a lot of ways that you can handle that.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be a all-inclusive 5-star resort in Aruba for your summer vacation. It can be, a camping trip where, like you were just saying, as long as you've got the supplies, it's a relatively modest cost. Or even day trips somewhere, even dining out at maybe more cost-friendly restaurants or establishments. And especially in the summer months, there's a lot of food trucks out there or places that have outdoor dining that maybe you're not quite paying the premium that you do at a full sit-down restaurant or something.
And before you go out and you spend $6 million on camping equipment, because I know some of you dads out there, I know you're going to be like, I'm going to get the best. I'm going to go to LL Bean. I'm going to get this $3,000 pup tent. Before you do that, backyard campouts are a great way to figure out whether your kids are going to like camping or not.
Right. It's a good test.
It's a really good test. And, if, again, you get the opportunity to do the day trips are good. It doesn't have to be Six Flags every weekend, that kind of thing. But there's also events in your towns. A lot of times, there's concert series here at the Commons in the town that we're in here, and other places where you can actually go. It doesn't cost you anything, and you can still have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, even up in Vermont where I live, we have summer food truck events at the local park. There is a local park as well, so my daughter loves to just go and play on the structures there, and even the local town library. My grandparents or my wife's parents, her grandparents, take her to go and spend a day there, a few hours each week, and she get to read some books. They have some toys, puzzles, and whatnot. And it's all free. It's all it's not something that maybe every community has, but if your community does have those sorts of things, these are just some examples. They're great, cheap things to leverage that kids can have a great time.
And your tax dollars pay for your local library to put on these summer programs, so you might as well take advantage of that. I think one of the things that you can do in the family budgeting tips here is to create a flexible summer plan that you can adapt to with a regular income that comes in or irregular money that comes in, and also to surprise expenses that come up. A lot of times things happen during the summer. Air conditioner breaks down, refrigerators die. I mean, there's things that happen just because there's heat. So we have to really have an accounting, and it's good to sit down. It's early enough now here in the beginning of the summer. It's July. It's time. Sit down and use last summer's spending as a benchmark to make sure that you don't go beyond your means.
And that could be a great place to start, because I know I've talked to so many people when it comes to this sort of thing. And, I think the tough common denominator in all of it is, well, the expense just came up. Maybe they weren't predicting for it, or they thought they were going to have, spend one amount and it piled on with all these extra costs and fees or whatever it might be. And I think the big thing there is, like you said, maybe use last summer as a benchmark when you're looking at one-off costs like this that happen only maybe a part of the year or 1 month out of the year or whatever it might be. You try to budget those monthly ahead of time and save for those. An example I'll give is my wife and I do it for a lot of in our own personal finances. We do it for a lot of our one-off expenses. One that's not quite summer related, but for us it does happen in the summer, is our auto and homeowners insurance. We pay it once a year, and instead of just getting hit with that bill randomly, we budget that out monthly. So it's in our savings. It's not eating into other funds for other things. And we treat that as a monthly expense, even though it's a once a year thing.
Right.
And we do the same for vacations. These summer trips, we'll do the same ideas. Even though it's a one-time cost, we plan it ahead of time, treat it as a monthly, just like any other bill, your utilities, your mortgage, your, TV subscriptions and whatnot. And you plan it out ahead of time. So you're not finding, which is a theme of today, you're not finding yourself falling behind and then trying to catch back up. And by the time you're caught up, it's time for Christmas and the holiday season and more spending.
And if you only have a certain amount of money that you want to spend on something, let's say you are going to go to Six Flags for the day and you've bought the tickets and you're going to go for the day, you don't want to bring your credit card with you, because the kids are going to be like, Daddy, buy me that pony. Oh, I don't buy the pony. If you only have your cash on you that you've allocated for the day, that gives you your money for your expenses for the day without having to whip out the credit card to try to get in over your head.
Helps you hold yourself accountable.
It does. It works that way. And the other part about this, if your children are a little bit old enough, and it could be really any age, I think, by the time that your child's in preschool, kindergarten, it's a good time to be talking about money. Because a lot of times people don't talk about money till much later, and maybe it's too late. But involve the children in the budgeting process. Now, for me, growing up, I used to have this little bag that I would save money in. So I would work all during the year, save up money as a kid, put it in a little pouch. I would pack it away, and then I would spend it on vacation. It was my vacation money. So that's something that, every parent can do whatever they want, but the idea is to get them involved in the process of planning out. And again, if you do it for the summer when it's fun, it's a little bit easier to do it when it's the holidays. So it's a good opportunity to start bringing them in.
Exactly. I think it's a twofold benefit. You maybe provide a little bit of education for those kids that are old enough, and you kind of maybe avoid that as you're going to the trip to the amusement park, like you said, of, I want this toy, I want that toy. You kind of give them the experience of, hey, here's how much we have to spend. Maybe gets them a little more mindful of how much they're spending as well. So, kind of just you get that double benefit.
And then the older that your children get, they get to be in those teen years, 14, 15, 16, and they're already laying there at night dreaming about their car. And we're not going to talk about your first car, though. That's a great story. But the first car, they're thinking there. But if you're helping them understand, hey, life's expenses, these graduates from high school who often say, well, I want to take, the whole summer off, and then, I got college in the fall. Well, that's nice, but if you don't have any money, how are you going to do all these fun things you want to do? I want to go to the beach. I want to go to these concerts. I want to go see some ball games. How are you going to do it if you don't have any money? You can't just take
Exactly.
it from mom and dad, or you shouldn't be taking it from mom and dad. So I think as the older your children get, the more you involve them in this process so they understand what's going on.
Yeah, that way you're not having to teach them when they're 18, 19, 20 years old. You've started the process much sooner.
Yep,
much earlier in
that's a
their
good
life.
idea. We're also thinking about expenses. I know we're dealing with people here in our own office whose children, college tuition bills are coming in July.
And they're not cheap.
They're not cheap. Those bills have got to be paid. And so as you start going through your plans, start looking now as you get those tuition bills, because we started talking about fun in the sun. Well, it's no fun having to pay those tuition bills. But this is where, just remember, we do have ways out there for you right now when your kid, if your child is in junior high school and you don't have no money, you have no money saved up for their college, but you have the means to do it, there should be some things that you're looking at. If your children are really younger, summer is still a good time to purpose and set aside money now. Let's talk a little bit about 529 plans.
It's one of the great spots to begin saving for a child's future, for their college expenses. And, the kind of nice things of the 529 plans is all that growth is tax-free as long as you're using it properly on the right expenses. And so when it comes to the right expenses, they're no longer just for college. You can use up to $10,000 per year now on K through 12. So if your child goes to a private school or something like that, you have that extra flexibility. There's even actually a little bit extra now for student loan repayment too, $10,000 in your lifetime, that you can also use some of that. So if you ever happen to have a little left over, not usually a big concern for most parents, but if there is, you have that extra little feature for student loans too. And they've even added this new Roth feature as well with 529 plans. If, again, there's something left over at the end, or your child doesn't go to a college or anything like that, you can roll it to a Roth IRA and get a jump start on their retirement.
So if your children are in preschool right now, or they're just starting out in school, it won't be fun in the sun when they get ready to go off to college if you don't start taking some proactive efforts now. And here's what the deal is. On these 529 plans, they effectively pay for your tuitions, your fees, books. They pay for computers, internet access, room and board if they're enrolled at least half time in the school. And you can match withdrawals to expense in the same tax year. You just got to keep your receipts and documentations in case there's an IRS audit. And you try to avoid withdrawing more than you need. You let your your funds continue to grow. And there may very well be some state tax benefits and some timing considerations.
Yeah, there was, even for myself, I was doing my master's program a few years back, and, I didn't really have much time to, invest and let that money grow. It was an expense that came up, and, was going to have to pay for it right then and there. But I actually still used a 529 plan. I lived in New York at the time. Their 529 plan offered a nice state tax deduction. Taxes are on the higher side in New York compared to a lot of other states. And so all I simply did was I put the money into the 529, waited about a week just to let the money clear, settle in the account, and then took it right back out to pay my tuition bill for my master's degree and got a nice state tax write-off on that tuition cost. So even if you don't have time to, even if you're in that later stage where your child's almost ready to go to college, if your state offers a tax deductibility there, not every state does.
Yeah, Massachusetts does. Yeah, Massachusetts
New York does. Vermont does. For those of you up in the Northeast with us, those are a couple of the states there. But if they do, still a benefit to using these plans to even get that little bit of a tax write-off.
Yeah, so some states do allow you to claim that deduction even if you withdraw those funds, just like as you described. And it's also good to make summer or early fall contributions before your year-end deadlines. That way you qualify for current tax year benefits. So it's not like you can make a contribution in January of 2026 and be able to use that as a deduction in 2025. So if you are going to do it this year and get the deduction advantage. So.
Agreed.
Summer fun, yeah, you say, wait, that's not fun dealing with it. Yeah, it will be if you handle it right now. But the other thing is, if you're going to be traveling and you're going to be spending that vacation money that you've saved up, even if you have it in the bank, it's not a bad idea to use your credit card to get rewards and optimize your travel and benefits that come from that.
It can be. Now, I think even before we jump into this topic, I want to add a little disclaimer.
Want to qualify that
whenever we get into talking about credit cards, just like we were talking about earlier, use cash. It helps you hold accountable. This is for the people who have a habit of being able to hold themselves accountable. Credit cards, if used incorrectly, can be dangerous for some people. But if you're that former and you're the person who's a little more accountable with your own budget, your own money, there can be great rewards that you can utilize to help pay for summer trips. There's a lot of travel rewards, credit cards out there that will get you points for things like flights, hotels, and whatnot. And you want to make sure that when you're booking those things, are there blackout dates and avoiding those pitfalls, because a lot of them you can get only certain types of flights or only certain dates that they actually qualify for. But when you're using those points, one great time of the summer to do it is it's what they call the shoulder season in summer. So maybe like late May, early June, late August, early September, at the tail end or beginning of the summer. Not only will your points go farther, but you'll pay less. Usually the cost for things like flights, hotels, etc. Can be a little bit less than in peak travel season. Right in the middle of July, early August, late June, when everyone's traveling.
And if you're traveling overseas, be careful and cautious. Know your credit card company, because there will be foreign transaction fees on your international trips, and so you should know that cost going into that. And just sort of a pro travel hack, you want to use a credit card that actually offers TSA PreCheck or global entry reimbursements. Granted, there's a lot of people that are using TSA now, and I also have global entry myself. But you have to be careful, because there is the temptation out there. There's another company out there called Clear, which again is going to be just like everything else, but this is different because it's a third party that is doing the clearing, which is like a TSA thing, but they're really pushing it. And again, is the more people that participate in it, maybe the expense comes down, but it is a little more expensive, but you won't find Clear on any of these credit cards. So some premium cards also offer free trip cancellation insurance or rental car coverage, which is perfect for sometimes you have unpredictable weather. If you're going down south in particular in the tornado hurricane season, that can be a little bit dicey. So when you're making these plans, check out your credit cards. Make sure you have the right amount of money set aside so you don't spend more than what you have to pay it off. If you pay it off with no interest, you get all the points, then you win.
Try to find the card that has the right bonus points for what you're looking to accomplish, whether it is the actual travel, the flights, the hotel, whether it's rental car benefits, the TSA PreCheck, or even if it's just something like extra bonus points on like dining out or gas expenses. Whatever it is, the whole point of this is try to do that search, that comparison, and optimizing your credit cards for travel. Again, I think the theme here is all these things add up. If you find some budgeting on the actual booking side of things, but then get a little bit more savings on the credit card side of things, and you're combining all these little things together, you save a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. It can add up over time.
It does. And so we're going to give a little bit of a recap here, because it seems like, fun in the sun. We've made it this big, long, arduous planning process that you got to sit down with a pencil and paper. Actually, it's a great way to have a conversation with your spouse, with your older children in particular, and even your younger children. Now, so you might have a younger child that's screaming at you, I want to go to Disney World. I want to go to Disney World. Okay, I get that. I've been to Disney World in the middle of the summer. I don't know why anybody would go to Disney World in the middle of the summer, because you'll be drenched with sweat by the time you get in through the line. I'm not sure that that's the best time to go. But for the families out there, in conclusion, the families out there that are wanting to meet their kids' needs, how do you prioritize what your family does for summer vacation? What are some guidelines that you would use?
I think it's just as part of that broader planning process, and this is a lot of what we do as financial planners and financial advisors, is trying to make sure that you have that balance. You're planning in all of your savings goals, your retirement savings, your tax bills, whatever it might be, all those other things are taking a spot within your budget. And then when it comes to those summer months, like we touched on in our very first topic, budget it out monthly, try to plan those things out ahead of time and incorporate it into that complete plan. So that way, we all want to have a little fun. We all want to be able to meet our financial goals too. And that way you're not just foregoing one for the other. You're not just focused all in on savings, not doing anything fun with your family, but at the same time, you're also not just piling on the credit card debt every single year and making zero progress on the savings side of things.
So the one thing I would give on that to add to it is when you have these conversations, it's not always a healthy thing to just say, well, we don't have the money for that. It actually is better to say, I think, to your children, just my opinion, is just simply to say, well, this is the money we have to work with. And could you afford to do that other thing? Yeah, we could take out a mortgage. We could hire a private plane. We could do all that. But then we'd have no money left. Well, they're not going to understand that. But you said, well, this is the money we have to work with. So that helps, I think, communicate. The other thing is, if you have 2 children, or 3 or 4, and James and Mary can't agree. Like, Mary wants to go unicorn riding, and James wants to do motocross, So we kind of have to find a way to bridge that gap.
Exactly.
And that's the creativity, and it allows for a family discussion. And by the way, when your younger daughter asked, how come the ocean didn't say goodbye? What are you going to tell her?
It just waved instead. Did I
get
that one right?
You got it, yeah. Oh, what a dad joke that is. That's a good one. So really, in summary here, it's good to make the plan. Strategize, work together, have your children be a part of that process. And if it's adult children, just tell them to get a life. I'm just kidding. No, sometimes it's fun to actually book something with our adult children, particularly family reunions in the summer, things like that.
Yes.
But again, you don't want to go overboard. Anything you want to add here as we end this out?
I think we've hit on many big tips. I think the last thing I would add is just if you're someone who works with an advisor, this is something, talk to your advisor. See if they can give you any insights on it. Some advisors may not, maybe it's not what they do, but advisors that focus on financial planning will gladly give you some tips and some insight and some guidance in doing something like this for yourself and your own family.
Absolutely. And I think communication is what this brings out. We're really glad you listened with us today and got a chance to enjoy the broadcast that we've done. So I just wanted to thank you for listening. And remember, live today for the tomorrow that's in your heart.
Because you'll never have more time to plan for tomorrow than you do today.
I'm Andrew Beaudry.
And I'm Ryan Cummings.
Have a good day.
Thanks for listening.